so many years, fear made my decisions for me. It stopped me from speaking out. It stopped me from doing the things that I was passionate about. It stopped me from showing up authentically, being myself around people that I wanted to impress. It stopped me from putting myself forwards for opportunities that excited me. But when I learned the 5 things that I'm going to share with you today, everything changed. Instead of shrinking to avoid upsetting people, I started showing up fully, and rather than that causing me to push people away, I began to inspire them. So if fear is currently ruining your life and quietly talking you out of the things that you actually really want, then this video is for you. Let's get into it. Fear feels like it's protecting you, and it is, just not in the way that you think. We think that fear is protecting us from danger, but in fact it's protecting us from growth, which it thinks is the same, but you know that that's not true. Growing is not the same as being in danger. And in this video, we're really going to set the two apart, and I'm going to give you tools to help you teach your brain to distinguish between the two. So the first thing that I wish I had known sooner is that fear is not a signal to stop. When we get that panic in our chest, that anxiety, that fear before we're about to do something, it can honestly feel like a hand on our chest saying, don't go any further. But actually, it is just a discomfort that we have to bypass in order to get to the feeling of safety. The things people fear most, setting boundaries, speaking up in a work meeting, or going to a new class by themselves, none of those things are intrinsically dangerous. They're just perhaps socially uncomfortable and a little bit uncertain. But on the other side of that discomfort and uncertainty is freedom. The freedom to be yourself, the freedom to share your ideas, the awareness that your voice and your opinion is just as valuable as anyone else's. The word courage doesn't mean absence of fear. It means taking action in spite of fear, and courage is what we want, not safety. Safety will give you a really unsatisfying life and keep you at home, not really experiencing much and not making any memories or living up to your potential in any way. Whereas courage is what leads you to have a truly incredible life, a life where you're able to help people, a life where you inspire people, a life where you feel you've really got the zest out of it. Every person that you admire was at one point terrified of doing what they're about to do. Tony Robbins at one point was terrified to speak on a stage. Your favorite singer was at one point terrified to sing on a stage. Mr. Beast at one point may have been terrified of putting out a YouTube video. And if not that, he was definitely terrified at something else. The difference between Mr. Beast and yourself, or Tony Robbins and yourself, or Molly May and yourself, or whoever of influence you value and appreciate or look highly upon, the difference between them and you is not that they felt less fear. The difference is that they didn't treat fear as a full stop. They treated it as a comma, something to observe, something to be like, oh, this must mean that I'm doing something outside of the box, something I've not done before. And then they carried on. They did it anyway. They didn't let it stop them. They didn't turn around. And I promise you that that could literally be the difference between where you are now and where you want to be. Viewing fear as a comma, not a full stop. The second thing that I wish I'd known sooner is that fear is mostly imaginary. We spend an enormous amount of time predicting worst case scenarios. I mean, we live up here and we are constantly trying to anticipate what's about to happen. And if you're like most people, you're anticipating the what if, the worst case scenario, the possibility of something going wrong. And that's important. If you're a parent, you need to think about all the possible things that could occur with your child in order to keep them safe and make sure you have everything that you need for them. You need to make sure they have a change of clothes. You need to make sure there are snacks, nappies, a first aid kit, phone signal. It's important to be prepared, but there's only so much preparation you can do. You have no idea what could happen at any moment. And if you try and prepare yourself for every possible outcome, you will burn yourself out. You will never want to leave your house because, well, there's a lot of scary things that could happen. But there is also an enormous amount of good possibilities, of good outcomes. And we want to give those just as much thought as the less positive ones. And so preparing becomes something that is logical, methodical, something that rather than being a safety mechanism is just a set of logical steps based on what you think you might need, not what you might need if there was a zombie apocalypse. We have lunch with a friend, and afterwards we'll convince ourselves that they think that we're annoying. We'll convince ourselves that they didn't actually enjoy spending time with us and that we said the wrong thing. And none of that is probably true. Have you ever heard of the spotlight effect? Psychologists use it to really show how much we are consumed by ourselves, which is why this video exists. If you find yourself being debilitated by fear, you are self-centered. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the way that we all are. We all think of ourselves more than anyone else. Even the most selfless person in the world thinks of themselves more than other people. Because when you're worrying about what other people think of you, you're not actually thinking about them or worrying about them. You're worrying about the impact that would have on you. You're worrying about how you came across, how you appeared. It doesn't make you vain, it just makes you normal. However, it is usually incorrect and it is not very helpful. We end up dreading things that never actually happen. So I want you to visualize something. Close your eyes if you're happy to, and imagine that there is a plank of wood on the floor, a bit like a beam if you ever did gymnastics. And I want you to see yourself walking along this plank. It's just on the floor. It's about 4 inches in height and about 10 foot long. You walk along this plank. Next, the plank gets moved and it gets put between 2 skyscrapers. You're standing on the top of one skyscraper with the plank in front of you. You step up onto it, so you're still on the skyscraper, but you can see the drop. You can see the little specks of people and cars beneath you. You can hear the muffled sound that is no longer as loud as it was when you were on the ground. And you look across to where the beam ends. And I want you to take a step so that you are now above the drop. And I want you to visualize yourself walking along that plank, all those hundreds of feet in the air, where any wrong step would mean instant death. And open your eyes. Did you feel your heart rate start increasing? Was there a difference between imagining the plank on the floor and the plank between the 2 skyscrapers? Most likely. The reality is that plank never existed. You're not being asked to walk on a plank between 2 skyscrapers. But yet you had a physical reaction similar to as if you were. And that is how our brain tries to play tricks on us, tries to keep us safe. But more importantly, it's just proof that your fear is imaginary most of the time. That if you can make yourself scared over something that never actually existed, you can make yourself feel calm over something that does or doesn't exist. Your brain thinks in pictures, so stop painting a picture of something anxiety-inducing and paint a picture of something where you are in control. You're in charge. You know what you're doing. You're excited about what's going to happen. Things are going to go well. Things are going to turn out right. How much greater and more peaceful and more exciting, more joyful and more empowering would your life feel if you went into each day with that image? From my experience, very. Number 3, rejection is not a verdict. Harry Potter, the incredible series that has gone on to have many films made out of it, a whole theme park, and has just managed to captivate almost the entire world, got rejected by 12 publishers before one finally accepted it. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times, and yet she still went back for the 13th. Similarly, the Beatles, when they were first starting, were told that guitar bands were on the way out. If they'd let that belief, that conclusion, turn them away, we would have no idea who the Beatles are today, other than little creepy crawlies. J.K. Rowling and the Beatles didn't become less talented the moment someone rejected them. They recognised that rejection was simply an opinion, and it didn't have to be the final opinion or the conclusion. Those rejections said a lot more about the person judging them and rejecting them than it did about them and their work. And so that's what we need to remember here. Someone else's opinion is just their opinion. And if you don't have a very good opinion about yourself, if your self-opinion is quite low, it makes sense that you're going to believe their low opinion of you too, if indeed that is their opinion. But if you have a positive opinion of yourself, which is where self-love, self-empowerment, and self-confidence work really comes in, then you're not going to trust someone's immediate low opinion of you. And this is exactly what I used to do. 10 years ago, if somebody didn't really like me, I would honestly believe that there was something wrong with me and that I needed to change myself in order to be liked, because if they didn't like me, there was evidently something wrong with me. But when I started to do work on becoming someone that I liked, someone that I believed there wasn't anything wrong with, I stopped believing those opinions. I was more choosy in who I appreciated being friends with, and therefore I recognised that not everyone is going to want to be friends with me because I'm very different from a lot of people, and we all are. By fully allowing yourself to be you, you may, yes, have less friends and be rejected by more people, but that's because you know who you are and you're not allowing yourself to be bent to being what 50 different people want. Because if you are what 50 different people want, you're probably not what you want. And you are going to have a much better life if you allow yourself to become someone that you want. Because then the people that do stick around are people you actually enjoy spending time with, and you don't have to change who you are to be around them. You don't get exhausted from being around them. You just enjoy their company and they enjoy yours. So remember, being judged isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean that the judgment is true. It's just a reflection of that person's lens. Number 4, if fear is the reason for you doing something or not doing something, it's usually the wrong reason. Fear evolved to answer one question: will this kill me? However, in today's day and age, the question is very different. It's, will this lead me to become more successful? Will this help me to grow? Those are two very different questions. And whilst society and life is more focused around growth and success these days, our brain hasn't quite caught up. And so it's still in this headspace of, could this kill me? Could this lead me to become less safe? Could this put me in danger? And that's why that is our first thought, rather than how can I grow from this? And so we kind of need to help our brain along to catching up with where life currently is. So fear is absolutely an outdated tool in making modern decisions. And it's almost always steering you away from creating and living the life that you actually want. Fear was designed for the savannah, where hesitating for a second could mean the difference between life or death. But it was never built for a job interview or a first date or hitting post on a social media post. But the problem is that your brain can't tell the difference between the threat of a lion and a LinkedIn post. So it fires the same alarm for both. So next time you find fear popping up, ask yourself, is this actually a threat that could lead to severe danger? Or is my caveman brain just a little bit confused? Number 5, fear can have a seat in the car, but don't let it drive. Let fear sit in the passenger seat. Let it catastrophize, let it complain, and suggest worst case scenarios, but don't let it put a hand on the wheel. Think about a nervous passenger in your car. If they were going ballistic, pointing out all of the possible dangers of the road and telling you should stop, pull over, stop driving, gasping at every turn, and telling you to slow down, would you slow down, stop, and let them sit in the driver's seat? No. You can hear them out, you can feel for them, you can support them and reassure them, but you wouldn't pull over and give them the keys just because they're anxious. Yet most people who live in fear have given the keys to that emotion. They've let it take over because they think that it knows best, but it really, really doesn't. They let it sit in the driver's seat and wonder why their life is still the same 5 years later. So if you struggle with the fear of judgment, fear of not being accepted, know this: you need to believe in yourself first. If you constantly wait for everyone else to accept you, to accept yourself, you're going to be waiting a lifetime, because that's never going to happen. You really need to work on your own self-love, self-acceptance and confidence first. Why would J.K. Rowling go to 13 different publishers if she didn't think her book was any good? She went to the 13th after the 12th rejection because she believed in what she'd done. Why do you think I post these videos, even though at the minute these YouTube videos are only getting 200 to 500 views? Because I believe in what I'm sharing, and I know the power of consistency, and I know that there are people out there that are going to benefit from this. And if I focus on the one comment that says that this didn't work for them or didn't help one person, then I would never post anything, and all the people that have said that my content has helped them would never be helped. I would never be running retreats, changing people's lives. But because I believe in myself and I know what I stand for, and I know that this stuff has changed my life and I've seen it change other people's lives, I am confident in posting every day and investing money into something that may not immediately bring money back into my pocket. But I believe in it. I believe in myself. I believe in my own abilities to help people. And so I'm going to keep on going. And so should you. Just because you didn't get on with 15 people, just because you're not still friends with people from school or university, doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you need to like you first, and then you'll find the right people for you. So I really hope that this has helped you to distinguish between how we protect ourselves from danger and how we accidentally protect ourselves from success and growth. You have everything within you to be successful, to live the life that you want, and to really feel incredible every single day. But you've got to stop letting fear win. Here are the keys to the car. Take them. Kick fear out of the driver's seat. Let it sit in the passenger seat if it wants, because it is helpful from time to time, but not all the time. Start the engine and get driving. Put the music up high to drown out the voice of fear, and you will go further in a year than you ever thought possible. I appreciate you.